Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for honoring our invitation at a very short notice. The purpose of this morning's, now afternoon's engagement is to draw the attention of the nation and the international community to the posturing of the new patriotic party that has the potential of subverting Ghana's peaceful march towards a free, fair, and transparent elections in December this year. As it is known all over the world, one of the defining attributes of Ghana's democracy in this Fourth Republic is the establishment of the rules of elections through consensus. Since the establishment of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, HYPOC, in 1994, almost all the reforms to our electoral system have been agreed by consensus before steps are taken to enact the enabling legislation, which consequently attracts very little controversy. Ladies and gentlemen, examples of these reforms include: 1. The replacement of opaque ballot boxes with transparent ones, the movement from separate presidential and parliamentary elections to concurrent general elections, the replacement of thumb-printed ID cards with picture-based ID cards, the upgrading of the voters' register from just a list of names to feature-based register, the use of biometric register with the verification device. With these and many other reforms, Ghana's democracy is now regarded as one of the best emerging democracies in the whole wide world. As a result, our Electoral Commission has had the privilege of offering expert advice to other electoral management bodies all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it is against this background that the National Democratic Congress views the ambivalent positions taken by our main opponent, the New Patriotic Party, with a lot of concern. We have observed that the NPP will first participate actively in all the engagement to seek consensus together with all other parties and stakeholders, commit their authorized signatures to all the agreements reached, and yet come out publicly not only to dissociate themselves from, but actually attack these decisions and putting the blame on other innocent stakeholders. Since as a party we believe in evidence-based presentation, we will at this point crave your indulgence to illustrate our submission with but a few instances. Number 1. The decision to move the date of elections to November. 2 workshops involving all political parties and other stakeholders organized by the IEA under the Ghana's Political Parties Program, GPPP, held in Akosombo from 13th to 14th October 2013, and Koforidua Capital View Hotel from 8th to 10th of November 2014. Is deleted, citing their presence on the register as constituting bloating of the same register. I think last week I heard the NPP demanding re-registration of all the affected persons. The question is, if all the affected persons are to register, then where was the bloating in the first place which NPP complained about? 3. Existence of names of foreigners on the voters' register. The running mate of the NPP, Dr. Baumia, together with their campaign manager, Mr. Peter McMenu, misled the whole Ghana and the international community into believing that Ghana's biometric voters' register was bloated with close to 1 million names of Togolese, Ivorians, and Burkinabes. Indeed, the NPP flag bearer himself also repeated the false claim that there are over 1 million foreigners on the voters' register and that Ghana's register has become an ECOWAS register. They backed their claims with the display of images on televisions in Ghana of persons found on the Togolese register and sponsored persons who claimed to be opposition leaders in Togo to collaborate their fabricated stories. Ladies and gentlemen, the exhibition of the Ghana register, which is to give opportunity for any such names to be deleted, has been ongoing for over 2 weeks now. And we are yet to see the NPP providing the list of the said names for deletion through due process. A fourth example, Dr. Baumia's allegation that registration kits were smuggled from Volta region to Togo to register foreigners. Ladies and gentlemen, we in the NDC find it extremely difficult to comprehend that it is the same Dr. Baumia who was accusing NDC operatives of influencing EC officials to cross over the border with biometric registration kits will now be implicated in an exhibition scandal where he, the self-same Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, is alleged to have influenced the EC officials to illegally move the verification kits to his house. Wonders, they say, will never end. Now, the electronic transmission of election results. Perhaps the most shocking attitude of the NPP is their latest decision to kick against the electronic transmission of the results of the presidential elections. I read the Electoral Commission statement tracing the decisions to transmit the results to the report of the Electoral Reforms Committee, which was signed by the NPP. That, in my view, is not enough, ladies and gentlemen. What the Electoral Commission did not disclose to the nation is the fact that the whole idea of the e-transmission of results was a proposal from none other than the New Patriotic Party, which was exhaustively debated and accepted by the committee before approval by HYPOC and finally accepted by the Electoral Commission. In a document titled Towards Reforming Ghana's Future Elections, submitted to the EC under a cover letter with a heading, quote, New Patriotic Party Reform Proposals, unquote, signed by the then National Chairman, Jake Otanka Obechebi Lamte. I don't know whether it's of blessed memory or not. An address to the Chairman of the Electoral Commission. The NPP proposed at page 10, paragraph 6, as follows. Quote, the Commission may adopt the use of satellite transmission of results to the National Tallying Center pending the receipt of pink sheets from the regions. This is NPP speaking. In this regard, the EC should consider procuring handheld scanners to scan and send all pink sheets to Accra before collation and receipt of hard copies. The handheld scanners have been budgeted for. Government has been forced to provide the money. And now, is it not surprising that the NPP is kicking against the same e-transmission and blaming its introduction on Electoral Commission without notice or involvement of other political parties? In the same document, the NPP states in paragraph 1.2 sub 1, page 5, that the party recommends that, quote, the party recommends that HYPOC, the decisions at HYPOC ought to form part of the body of constitutional instruments which will govern the conduct of elections in this country. The HYPOC decisions, they have consistently been kicking against. In their reform proposal, they indicated that those decisions should form part of the laws for the running of elections in this country. Yet NPP has now gained notoriety for kicking against decisions of HYPOC which they were part of. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we wish to tell the NPP in plain language that they should let their yes be yes and no be no, in order to save the little remaining integrity left in that disorganized and disintegrated party. They should also know that discerning Ghanaians are getting impatient with their double standards, and if they do not mend their ways, the nation will move on with or without them. God bless our homeland. This was the report generated by that committee. And the members of that committee, members of that Electoral Reform Committee are as follows. Mrs. Georgina Opoku-Amankwa, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who is the Chairperson of the committee. Mrs. Rebecca Kabuke Ajalo, member of the committee. My good self, Johnson Asiedun Ketia, member. Mr. Kwabena Ajepong, NPP, member. Mr. Charles Kwabena Bonfe Jr., CPP, member. Mr. Enim Kofi Addo, Yes People's Party, member, representing all the other minority parties. Dr. Ransford Jampo of IEA, member. Mr. Kwasi Jonah of IDEC, member. Dr. Franklin Odro, CDD Ghana, member. And Mr. Christian Owusu Pare, secretary to the committee. And this was the report we generated. Key attribute of our democracy is that we believe that the best laws for elections must be established by consensus. So we always work towards consensus first before we send the proposals for the appropriate legislative bodies to take action. So all the decisions that are taken at IPAC, there is no law establishing IPAC. It is a contrivance for securing consensus. And it has served this nation so well that all the reforms that I catalog were decided by consensus at IPAC. So we, the political parties, have come to believe so much in IPAC, to the extent that NPP, when they were submitting proposals for reforms, they were calling for IPAC decisions to be binding on the Electoral Commission. And it is contained in their submission. So that tells you how binding the IPAC decisions are. Indeed, they are on record to have indicted NPP as a body that is very recalcitrant because they have refused to implement certain IPAC decisions. So the IPAC is there to serve the interests of stakeholders. Electoral Commission by itself does not need IPAC to do their work. It is a system with which we seek to impact upon how they do their work. And so that is how come they have collaborated very well with the party since 1994 to date. It is through IPAC that we changed, as I said, we changed opaque ballot boxes to transparent ballot boxes. We introduced picture-based voter ID card. We did many other things, combined parliamentary and presidential elections, and so on. Because the first election in '92 were held separately. Presidential was held in November and parliamentary was held in December. I'm sure those of you who were old at that time heard that NDC called itself November-December champions. So we are not worried at all whether it is in November or it's in December, because we are champions of both months. So you see, so that tells you the persuasive effect. So if we, the political parties, who are accusing Electoral Commission of not implementing decisions that we have agreed upon by consensus, if we tend to go out there to blame Electoral Commission for implementing the decisions we have taken, then, to say the least, we are not being fair at all. So that is the answer to your question. Now, there is no law backing the electronic transmission. In fact, when you are dealing with elections, there are some aspects that are administrative. There are other aspects that are covered by subsidiary legislation, i.e. constitutional instruments and legislative instruments. And yet there are others that are covered by the Constitution. So it is not everything that should be backed by law. Many of the things, like the compilation of results and all other things, many of the things are governed by rules established by the Electoral Commission. And in fact, when we arrived at these decisions, we indicated which of them would need constitutional amendments, which of them should go into which of them will go into subsidiary legislation, and which of them will just go into the training of their staff and find themselves as rules. So I'm sorry if anybody is saying that a particular thing must be provided for by either the Constitution or subsidiary legislation. He's either misleading the public again, or he doesn't know what it's about. Or both. Then Sandra asks about consensus at HYPOC. Yes, when we issue a communique, the communique I cited, it was signed by everybody. So where were the questions he claimed remain unanswered? And why did he sign when his questions had not been answered? So these are signed documents by NPP. So it's just again misleading the public. See, there are some parties who feed on the ignorance of the masses. And they always seek to keep the masses ignorant so that they can continue to exploit them. We are not one of those parties. That is why we always come out with evidence-based presentations. Thank you very much. And we stick by all agreements that we are party to. We will not sign a document and come back and stand somewhere and claim that that document was authored by somebody else. Dr. Baumia's verification allegation, as far as we are concerned, remains an allegation at this stage. But we will push for the laws of elections to be applied to everybody equally without fear or favor. So we are leaving the Electoral Commission to do their investigation, and then we will take it from there. Whatever will come out of the investigation, we will pursue it, because we don't know what the verification, if it turns out to be true, then Dr. Baumia would have to answer why he is projecting the NDC to be the party that carries registration kits across the border to register Togolese, to divert people's attention to NDC, and then he will go to influence the same election officials to carry the verification kits to his house. I don't know what happened to the kits in his house, but the important thing is that it is an illegal activity. If it is proven, then the laws must equally apply. Number two, somebody is saying the EC has addressed these issues. I thought I read the list of persons who participated in this meeting for you. What gives the EC the right to respond, and we don't have the right to respond when we are equally participants in the decisions? So again, those who want to silence us by always claiming that we are responding when EC should be responding. They don't know what they are talking about. And we are under every obligation to defend decisions that we participate in. And we will do it with documentary evidence, as we have just done. After this, we will give you copies of some of the documentation. If you have a friend in NPP, approach them and ask them. Unfortunately, you can't ask the dead questions. So I'm not sure Freddie Blay will hold brief for Obetebula. So they may tell you that the water is dead. So yeah. So thank you very much. That's the problem we have with NPP. If they hadn't asked for the deletion, the names will be there. Everybody's name will be there. You went to ask for deletion, and now you have it. Why are you asking? And the court ruled that they should be given opportunity to register. The court didn't say they should compel them to register. And in our view, the opportunity has been given. It is up to those who are willing to take advantage of the opportunity. Electoral Commission cannot compel them, and Electoral Commission cannot leave the opportunity there forever. I am sure that the cut-off date will capture those who have registered for the purposes of voting in this election. But beyond that one, they can come to the Electoral Commission offices and register, except that their names will not be on the register which will be used for this election. That is our view about it. Because the court itself did not give a cut-off point. They said they should give them opportunity to re-register. So they will re-register. That opportunity, in our view, has been given, and it is ample. So, but nobody can compel them to re-register. And I am sure NPP did not think through their call very well before making it. Because all the names were there. And you said that some should not be there. So, because that is why they call it bloating. Now, if your argument is that everybody's name must go back to the register, so how are you curing the bloating you complain about? So that is, you see how absurd their actions and utterances are. And if you see people behaving like this, they are preparing themselves to be left behind as the nation moves forward. Thank you very much for your attendance.